It's an email breakdown.
Email's not dead.
Hello, friends! Welcome back to another episode of Email Breakdown. I'm so excited because I'm here with a friend. It's not just me, it's my friend Meg. And before we get into it, Meg, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Meg. Not many people call me Meg anymore, so I love this. Megan Boshuyzen, you can call me Meg. Totally cool. I love being called that. I am the senior email developer at Cinch Email, which encompasses a couple of brands we all know and love, which are Mailgun, Mailjet, and Email on Acid. So I am the person developing all those lovely marketing emails that you get from them.
Oh my gosh, incredible. So yes, so firstly, I just felt like we were on nickname basis.
Cool.
I'm a nickname basis of everyone. And
love
secondly, I wanted you to get your incredible titles and like what you've done out the way because I wanted to nerd out really briefly about Meg. So Meg, just don't be embarrassed or anything, but I'm actually kind of a fangirl of you.
I am officially embarrassed.
Yeah, so a bit of context. So Meg's been, I guess, like a staple of the email geeks community. I've seen her on Women of Email. I've seen her on obviously the Email Geeks Slack, and she's just a force to be reckoned with. Meg, you're just incredible, and so happy to have you on my dinky little show.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me on. I mean, we started talking a couple of years ago because you helped me with some nonprofit stuff back when I was doing emails and nonprofit and trying to figure out some strategy things. And that's when we started talking, and you are also absolutely brilliant. And I've been a fan for a long, long time.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, I'm officially blushing. So let's set the scene here. So when I asked Meg to join, I wanted her to talk about this incredible email that made a bit of a splash earlier this year. And I think splash is a bit of an understatement because I saw it and I was like, whoa. You'll see what I mean very shortly. So Meg, could you kind of set the scene for the email we're going to look at and the story behind it?
Sure. I guess, do you want me to come out and say what the email is, or do you want me to set this up and then reveal what the email is?
Let's set this up and then we'll do a big reveal. I love the drama of a reveal.
Drama. Okay. So this whole email and everything was not just me. It was our whole team. So back in, I think it was last October. So this would be October of 2022. My coworker, Julia, and Julia is our senior email marketing manager. She's an absolutely brilliant writer. She's the one who writes all of our emails. So we see like a lot of the fun stuff in the Email on Acid newsletter, the really punny, funny copy. That's all her because she's amazing. Yeah. So we trade ideas all the time on email. And back in October 2022, she was, I think it was her that just threw out this idea.
Oh my gosh.
And then we kind of just started riffing on it. And then we were just okay, let's do this for April Fool's Day. And we brought design into it. So we have two designers, Kim and Francois. Both are incredible designers. Francois did not know what this idea was, which was hysterical to me, but he also does not live in the United States, so I think it kind of got to him later, the idea. And our other designer, Kim, was just yep, I got you. I'm on board. She designed so she was the one who designed the entire email for us. We decided to make it a Notes from the Dev themed newsletter. So Notes from the Dev is the email development show that I host for Email on Acid. So people who have not seen it, you should go watch after this and subscribe to the channel.
Link will be somewhere around here. Yep.
My opinion, it's pretty great. Because we needed to base this email around a specific brand or profile. So we felt that one was perfect to take. And we did a little bit of a throwback to a certain nostalgic social media network that we all love.
And I
So
think if
shall
you're
I
a
do-
millennial, yeah, you'll immediately
Millennials
understand the
will
magic.
understand the magic of this like immediately. Yeah, basically, if you were in college or heading into college in like the 2003 to
Mhm.
2008ish era.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
yeah.
It's middle school up through college.
Mhm.
That was kind of like the bulk. 2003, 2008ish area.
Yeah.
You will recognize this,
100%.
and you will love it.
Yeah, I'm
All
not
right.
kidding. I'm not kidding when I say when I first saw this email, I gasped. Like it was literally, I was just like, oh my gosh, you know,
It was
like,
one of the greatest days of my
more.
life.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally. I was like jumping up and down with joy. And my husband, who also works from home, was like, what is happening? And I was just like, you don't understand. This is the greatest day of my email career. Oh, that was such a fun day. Yeah. So shall I share it?
Please do. Please do.
All right.
Oh, the
All
twinkling
its beauty
background.
and the twinkling. Yeah, so we did a MySpace profile. We did throw the logo in there, knowing that like this is very clearly not from MySpace. We positioned it from us, but just for like, you know, full nostalgia effect and all that jazz. We went for it full force. Yeah, so
gosh.
this is our newsletter full with twinkly gifts. We have, I don't know if we can hear the audio if I hit that, we won't be able to hear the audio. But there is
Okay.
audio.
Wow, so the interactive elements in it as
Yeah.
well blew my mind. What was the audio that
Yeah.
was playing, by the way?
That is the Notes from the Dev theme song that you hear at the beginning and the end of each episode.
Incredible.
Yeah, so we put that in there. So that shows up on all of our Apple devices. I did not autoplay it because I am not that mean. So yeah, so we just went for it. Like the links up here are not real because I just did not have places to link people to, but like we made it a view in browser.
Oh, incredible.
These were our links for the different blog posts that we wanted to send people to, and just we went for it. These links are all real. They go to different places.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I look very uncool right now because I'm like agape at this email. But yeah, I mean, I love the little details. So as you're moving down, I'm spotting loads of things. So like, where did you guys source the kind of the cheesy, the Millennium style like gifts from?
That was all Kim. Kim made it all happen.
You legend. Amazing.
Kim's a legend.
Yeah.
Absolutely legendary. Yeah, she's an absolutely incredible designer. Like,
wow. I mean, the 3D, like very primitive 3D effect from back in the day, like perfectly captured here. And obviously you've got Mail as well. One of my favorite rom-coms, actually.
Yeah, funny thing, I've never seen You've Got Mail.
Okay.
But it is Julia, one of her favorite movies, so we made the reference. Yeah, a lot of this we were laughing because a lot of this is like a mashup of like what I was like in high school and what Julia was like in high school. So it's just like really funny to me with our different interests. Yeah, and our friends, you know, we have classic Tom from MySpace, and these are all my coworkers.
And these are like actual photos from
photos.
Wow.
So like if you've come to any of our webinars or email camp or anything, that's Thomas, our host. So it's awesome. Everybody was so we had so much fun in the work marketing Slack channel. Everybody was just uploading their photos to show what they looked like circa, you know, it was anywhere from like 2005 to 2008. We developed this email like it was coded back then. So the coding's like a little bit down and dirty, a little bit different than how I code nowadays. But I just wanted to, from the back end to the front end, make it look like really authentic and like it was MySpace.
I mean, you nailed it. So I think maybe what if we just sort of broke down like the different elements and as we move
Mm-hmm.
down the email. So in the top left, we've got like
Yeah.
what would have been your avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the little detail of like the up and down like typing style from that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So it was like you had your little description,
Mm-hmm.
your birthday, your last login. So this is here. That's when we sent the email.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, we were almost 1 years old at the time as a show. Our show turned 1 in May, so we were like
Oh,
super close to that 1 year mark.
yeah.
Yeah, and we linked to, I think this is the YouTube, if I look in the corner, yeah, we linked to the YouTube page in a bunch of spots,
Mm-hmm. And then we've got
whatnot.
where the notifications would have been up top as well. So
Mm-hmm.
so we've got like links to I guess various articles.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
So
we
instead of doing like our traditional hero image, header, body, CTA,
mm-hmm.
with how the blogs looked in MySpace, it was literally just a title in a view more. So that's what we did
Yeah.
here. This was our Inbox Insights article, best marketing newsletters, stuff about
Mm-hmm.
email accessibility. You could view everything. Yeah. So this is where we linked heavily to the Email and Acid website to, show people what was new on there in the blog.
And like it's such a simpler time from back then as well, like with regards
Mm-hmm.
to we're so used to everything being really image based that I'm like looking at
Mm-hmm.
this and I'm remembering how text based everything was
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Um, so like with design research, how did that process go as well when you guys were kind of pulling together the elements for this?
We had a couple of conversations and meetings. Design research side of things happened mostly with Kim, so I wasn't there for most of that. But a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
conversation was like, yes, we want this to be MySpace, and do we want to go GIF heavy? Yes, we want to do GIFs. We need animated backgrounds. We need our GIFs to not look so clean and pristine. We want them to be like a little bit fringy and low res around the edges on purpose, because like that's what they all looked like back then, and it was a lot about like the look and feel that we wanted. We did go looking online. There are fewer old MySpace page references online than you would think. I believe Julia did pull one from Kim Kardashian that was very, very pink. It's fun to look at. I used the Wayback Machine a little bit to take a look. Still a little bit hard to see things via Wayback Machine too. And that's really the bulk of what we did. Kim pretty much nailed it first try around, which was pretty amazing.
Incredible.
So yeah, like I was not expecting the save code break hearts bit, and I saw that and I was just like, yes, I love this. It's like my favorite thing about this entire email is the save code break hearts. It's my little cover photo on Twitter and LinkedIn still, because I had changed it that day. And I haven't changed it back. It's still that right now.
Please don't. It's so legendary. And please say you guys are coming out with merch with like that graphic on a t-shirt, because I would buy it in a heartbeat. I would.
Good idea. No plans for merch, but I will bring that up for sure.
The most niche merch ever. Like,
the most niche merch.
What was the name of your copywriter?
Julia.
So Julia completely nailed it as well with things like entertainer, creator, email vision maker, like this little poetry that I definitely like bad poetry. I remember writing in my
and the text is like a little bit smaller than what I would normally do in an email, especially for accessibility purposes. Like I did like go a little bit, not too much with those standards. I didn't want to let go of them too much, but I did allow myself to be a little bit more flexible for the sake of just nailing the look, because everything back then, your text was, 12 to 14 pixels large. People were just going, just going YOLO on the
It was the
on the
Wild West.
HTML.
Yeah.
Like so there is a whole generation of coders now because they were able to mess with HTML and a little bit of CSS with their MySpace pages. And we know those
Yeah.
pages were not coded well. So I really
Yeah.
wanted to try to reflect some of that here. And I tried not
Yeah.
to like go for too much of a perfection,
Mhm.
because I did want that authenticity of, yes, this is supposed to feel like a MySpace page. And I feel like I was pretty successful in getting that point across, that like not everything's
Completely.
perfect for all of it. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the alignment is like a little bit off on some things, and
Mhm.
like things like that. And also, I wanted to bring up, there's also a generation of people who learned coding from doing up their Neopets stores as well, like the
Yes,
Neopets
yep,
pet
that
pages,
too.
right?
Love
Yeah.
Neopets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it's incredible. And could you like talk through this left module as well, like this left column?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was like harder for me to code than one
Mm.
might think, because I don't code well, number one, I use my email design system, so it's all modules. And this, I coded all in tables, which I haven't done either in a while. I usually do
Oh.
divs. So for like the developers out there, I usually code in divs and ghost tables, since for the most part, your desktop outlooks are your only email clients that still need tables to function. Everything else pretty much functions off of divs. But this, I purposely coded with tables because, again, the MySpace 2003, 2005 era was not using any divs. And at one point, I even tried to use like the font element instead of setting all the text with CSS.
Oh yeah.
Because I wanted to be like super authentic in that way, because MySpace was being coded like that.
Yeah.
But it was getting like way too time consuming, and I had to make way too many changes. So I was like, all right, I have to let go of that. It just for the sake of efficiency alone, I have to let go of that, or
Oh my
this would have
God.
never gotten out the door. So I still use the CSS for like for basic styling, but like when I had to think about the structure, it really was like, how is this going to stack on mobile?
Yeah.
So it's like, where are my tables? So like I believe I did this as one table
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
this table, and in this preview view, I can't switch quickly between mobile and desktop, which is fine. So like this is one table, this is another table, but then like this is all their own tables.
Oh, yeah.
And then just development wise, getting all of this to work and look good everywhere was a little bit of a challenge, because not all the email clients support transparency, which is I'm using a little bit of transparency here and whatnot. So yeah, like in Outlook, this is just a solid green. It's not transparent at all, and
Gotcha.
all that jazz. So it's knowing like where to let go. Like you can see here, we don't have a gap like we do here.
Yeah, got you.
Which I don't remember if I did that on purpose or not. I'm going to say I did it on purpose.
Yeah,
or
100% you
it
did,
wasn't working, and I said, it's fine. It's a MySpace page.
Yeah,
Nobody
I
coded
mean,
perfect MySpace pages.
exactly. And it's also, it's like, I love that thing where like makers, coders, designers, what have you, we always obsess about these little details, and like the people on that side, on the other side are often like, I would never have noticed that unless you pointed them out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like it's the balance of, sometimes you spend all that time on the little details and you're like, yes, it was worth it to do this.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you're like, no, it was not worth it to do that. And I feel like over time you kind of start getting better at figuring out when it's worth it to obsess over those teeny tiny details, and when it's just not advantageous to do that. And at some point you got to call something done too, right? We can obsess over our own things, for hours, just adjusting things, a couple of pixels one way, a couple of pixels the other way. And then because we're so used to looking at it, our eyes just like,
you just have no sense. Exactly. You just have no sense of like the impact that has on like someone who hasn't seen it before. So like the background is great as well. And was that a challenge at all, or was that absolutely fine?
That was absolutely fine. Yeah, I believe it's just a repeating GIF that we tiled. It looks
Nice.
like
Yeah,
a
you can
pattern
see
to
it.
me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh,
So I'm just
incredible.
like, some of this I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think that was just a pattern. Kim did a great job setting that up to work really well as a background image for sure. Yeah, I love how it twinkles and sparkles. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and like I saw a lovely little detail. Again, like
Yes.
Julia, who's your copywriter, she put something right at the bottom. I just wanted to highlight it. It was in the footer. So this email is a parody. MySpace, please don't sue us. We're just lonely millennials and love you.
Fun fact, that was me.
Oh my
I'm the one
gosh!
who wrote that line.
I really needed to point that out because I just love like fun micro copy like that.
Yeah, I felt like I need to throw that in. The funny thing about that is I edited because I put this code. So like if you got the email, you could click on this link and you'd be able to see this email with the full code. And like people did go look at the code, which made me really happy because I wanted people to do that. But I fixed this after the fact for people who clicked on it. But I learned that I do not know how to spell the word millennial. And I think I only put one N in it. Someone was like, so you spelled millennial wrong.
Oh, no.
But otherwise, perfect email. And I was like, of course.
Of course. There's
Thank
always
you.
that one thing, yeah.
Yeah. Always that one thing. I was like, I'll cop to it. I have spelt it wrong several times, so it was not a typo at that time. I legitimately did not know how to spell millennials, apparently. But yeah, I found it's a lot of fun. I kind of just like threw it in there sort of towards the end. I was like, I need to put something in here about it being a parody, just for fun, and kind of just poke fun at ourselves as a generation. I know not everybody looking at the email is of the millennial generation, but me and Julia are. So we thought it was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I love when things have such a specific point of view because what comes out the other end is so strong. And even if you're someone who didn't experience like MySpace, I think it's pretty clear like what you're looking at as well. So you might not get like the same rush I got of like just jumping into a time warp, but I think you'd understand like pretty clearly like, oh, okay, it's like, this is the reference.
Yeah, and it's just like the fun of like early social media. When it was really truly about connecting with people before everything else happened.
None of the polish, none of the filters.
The polish, for sure. Yeah, it was literally about posting your own thoughts, connecting with other people.
Artsy photographs in black and white. Yeah, for sure. Also, like about this email, what was the most surprisingly difficult thing about it? Was there anything that took you by surprise?
Yeah, just for me, figuring out the table structure on the development side was the hardest. The images here were actually a little bit hard because I had to make sure they're all the same aspect ratio, getting them all to stack correctly. So I have it stacked down to 2 columns, and I'm pretty sure if we looked at it on mobile, that not all the images are the same size. Some might look a little bit taller than others. And I think I got to the point where I just had to like call it, and I just couldn't keep them the same size. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. It was, my perspective through the whole thing was, this is, like I said before, this is a parody of a MySpace page where people did not code good HTML. So if I am seeing one image a little bit bigger than the other image, it's fine. Like that's part of the experience of looking, at something like this. And I wanted it to feel like you were going back in time without, a complete polish to it. So that was really the hardest here because it was like a table within a table within a table within a table. Like I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Like if we happen to go over to the code view and you can see where all the tables are, it would just look like a mess. Yeah.
Totally. And am I able to pop the link somewhere so people can see the code in its full glory still?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
exists. So yeah, we can provide that link for sure for people who want to go look at it.
Yeah, amazing. And I guess like my other question is, well, I guess it's more of an observation than a question, but I
Hmm.
guess something like this just isn't possible in like your normal WYSIWYG or drag and drop. Would I
Hmm.
be correct? So this is like a total custom job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Total
Yeah.
custom job.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you would not be able to pull something like this off
Mm-hmm.
in a WYSIWYG editor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know most WYSIWYGs like don't give access to, background image
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds
Yeah.
and yeah.
There's a whole load of limitations for sure. And that's why I think this
Yeah.
is so incredible to look at, because the amount of custom work that's put into it, and
Hmm.
obviously all of the little details. So like with the interactive stuff as well, like how does that work, just for like people who are like brand new to interactive elements in email?
Yeah, so the only true interactive piece of it was this audio player.
Mm-hmm.
Apple devices are the only place that I believe the audio player works.
Mm-hmm.
So on the code side, you can, and I learned this from Jay Oram, and it's one of like the best little bits of code that I've learned,
Okay.
is if you can set it up, your CSS with an @supports
Mm-hmm.
variables. So like variables aren't supported everywhere in email, but you
Yeah.
can use that media query and put all of your CSS for where you want to support that CSS, just for anywhere that supports variables, which is basically your Apple devices in your browser, which makes it
Mm-hmm.
really easy to only show interactive elements there, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to having to write some crazy classes to show hide things, which is what I did in my very first interactive email for the email camp email that I sent out last year. I had all
Yeah.
sorts of classes to hide interactive elements from all the different
Yeah.
places, because I didn't know that @supports variables bit existed, which would have made my life a lot easier. So yeah, you nest it all underneath that media query, and then it shows where you want it to show while
Mm-hmm.
hiding it everywhere else, so it's
Mm-hmm.
unobtrusive and your experience otherwise doesn't change, from email client to email client.
Yeah, so if you were looking on this at this on a mobile device that wasn't an Apple device, that just
Hmm.
wouldn't appear at
This
all.
just wouldn't appear at all.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're looking at
Incredible.
it in that like iOS mail app, it would show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think so much of email design, because of the way email clients work, is about backups upon backups. So thinking
Yes.
about mobile, and then also thinking about the
Hmm.
different clients and all of that stuff as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that progressive enhancement. So a way that I've been changing my thinking, I used to think very much desktop first, then think about
Yeah.
mobile,
Mm-hmm.
and flipping that thinking from mobile first,
Mm-hmm.
then up to desktop is a little bit of a brain shift,
Yeah.
but very much worth it to try to start thinking in those terms. Because then at least if you think in first one column,
Mm-hmm.
then at the very least, your email is going to look good everywhere, regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
And then you can start building out your columns. And then if something happens and for whatever reason, your columns don't stack, and I've had that happen before, that unexpectedly my email on desktop has gone one column,
Mm-hmm.
then nothing's broken and it still looks good, and your subscribers will probably be none the wiser.
Yeah.
Whereas if something's two column and it breaks but doesn't go down to one column, then the people on your mobile devices do run into a problem. So
Yeah, that's such a great tip, actually. Designing for the most limited medium first and then building upwards
Yep.
is a great, it's just a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And in terms of like performance, I don't know if you can share like anything about the data, but how did this email perform with regards to like the normal metrics? And I guess we can talk about like how it worked in the email industry after.
Yeah. So I don't have exact numbers for how it performed. I believe it was pretty on par for all of our other newsletters. Our subscribers with Email and Acid are incredibly engaged with our emails, which
For good
Thank you,
reason.
everyone.
Yeah.
We love creating emails for the Email and Asset audience, so please keep interacting with our stuff. They're really fun to send, these type of emails out for. So it's pretty on par to what we usually see. What's usually not on par to what we usually see was just general industry response, which is what with this email is what we were more looking for. Like if the clicks were terrible on this email, I mean, obviously you want your clicks to be good, but our goal for this one was really just to send out something fun for the community that was fun for us, and send out something that people would talk about. And this one certainly got people talking.
Yeah, I mean, I think like emails have such an ephemeral nature to them in that like you see them once and you probably like chuck them into your bin, and the artfulness of this email, the strategy of like making something so splashy that people talk about. It's like marketing, chef's kiss. And I think that's like so important for people watching to remember about any marketing or anything you make is, what is your objective, right? In this case, it wasn't to get people to buy something or to convert on something straight away. It was about making that splash and giving people something to talk about, which you guys did 100%. So I'm gonna let people like experience the glory of this email by like looking at the code and looking at it. But I wanted to while I've got you here, very selfishly, I'd love to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
So that was wonderful, and I guess like one of the things that really like boggles my mind in such a great way about you is like so we've known each other like for a little while. I guess like just seeing each other in the same places and stuff, and I've seen your progression as a coder, like an email developer. And could you like talk a little bit about like what that journey has been like, starting from like no coding at all to like where you're at now?
For sure. Yeah. So I guess we'll back up to the beginning. I coded my first website with HTML when I was 12. So I've been playing around in code for a very long time. I got into websites because, my first website I tried to make was a sports website. Back in like 2001, I thought I was going to post like the entire like Boston Celtics and New England Patriots and maybe New England Revolution schedules onto my Totally Sports website. That one may not have been with code. I think that one I used a website called Homestead. I think it was called. It was like one of the very first like drag and drop website editors. And then from there, I was never a big GeoCities person. I was on Angelfire.
Yeah.
So I made, so like with everything else in my life, when I was like 15, anime got me into everything. So like I started with Photoshop to make my very first desktop background was a Cowboy Bebop desktop background.
Amazing.
I made a Dragon Ball Z website.
Yeah.
It was like those types of things. So I started messing around with HTML. CSS didn't really exist at the time. And once I got into college, I went into a graphic design program and I learned HTML and CSS like basics there. I did, when I was in college, I went out and just went out for internships every single summer. Instead of working a summer job, I went and got an internship. I was lucky to be in a position. Both of my internships paid me about minimum wage. I was lucky to be in a position that was fine. Very privileged to have that type of opportunity, that even if they didn't pay, I would have been able to go out and get the internships. So I had one for Endurance International Group, which they own like dozens upon dozens different like domain registrars and hosting companies and all that jazz. They're probably one of the biggest to own all of that stuff. So I had a web design / kind of developer internship where I really got my hands dirty with CSS. I had 2 managers there and they were like, go figure it out. They're like, don't bug us unless you've Googled it and you really can't figure it out, which was really one of the best things they did for me, because then like I really had to learn. Prior to that, I was in Dreamweaver, like going through the little CSS panel thing and like clicking and typing in a value and not understanding how a lot of it worked. So I
Yeah.
really learned CSS there. A couple of years went by after that. I was coding a little bit, but not much. I was pretty solidly in graphic design world for about 4 years. Once from 2012 to 16, I was in a graphic design position. I worked some email in that position. They were mostly image only emails because not my primary thing. We were using a proprietary company that was specific to the industry I was in. So we just dropped graphics in there, send. I had made a couple of small scale websites, but nothing major because we would use vendor specific websites. And we'd have somebody help us with all that, and webmaster, all that jazz. And after that job, that's when I joined the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, Jewish nonprofit, which is where I was working when we met. I went in there as their web associate, web and communications. No, what was it? It was some weird long title that I used to be able to rattle off, and suddenly I can't rattle off anymore. Web and communications associate. It was something like that. Producer, associate, something like that. It was 2 positions in one. I was using HTML and CSS to set all the blog styles on the PJ Library website, which is their flagship program. I haven't checked their website lately, but if you go on there and their headers still have their H2 headers still have blue bars behind them. That was me. That was me. I set up a lot of their styles. And then I also started working on the email side. And all the emails, the templates were in MailChimp. They were custom coded. So they were using a contractor. And I think the contractor knew that they were going to be hiring someone to take over stuff. So I remember looking at the HTML and having to reacquaint myself with all of it. I coded some stuff from scratch. It was not good at all. And from there, I think it was at the end of either the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, I joined Email Geeks. I was really quiet for a while. I think because I joined at a bad time where a lot of people were out on holiday. So it wasn't so So I was really quiet for a while. I had found the Email Geeks Slack through a forum about email development. I was desperately searching for an answer for an Outlook issue, and somebody had mentioned it and linked to it in those forums. So I joined it. So once I got more active in Email Geeks, I just mostly started hanging out in the email code channel. And this is what I tell a lot of people to do learning HTML. Just go hang out in the email code channel. You don't have to ask questions, but start looking at the questions that people ask. Read every single question that people ask as they come in and read the answers. And you'll start absorbing that information, especially because a lot of people ask, the same things a lot. So you'll just start absorbing those answers. And then I started asking questions and learning a lot. And, I kept on just coding. I redid all the templates at Harold Grinspoon Foundation. I redid one of their emails, and just from doing the redesign, I quadrupled the conversion rate of the email.
Wow.
Yeah. That was pretty early.
It's dopamine straight.
Yeah, it was a huge dopamine hit. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And I did it on my own.
Wow.
I just went and did it without any permission. I kind of just went and did as I did there. Which was great to have the flexibility to try things out. I eventually recoded all their emails. We redid the templates because we went through a little brand refresh. They're still using the templates and they look great, which is awesome because I get their emails still. And from there, I just kept getting better at email development. I started feeling a little bit held back by using MailChimp because I wanted to dive deeper into the technical stuff and couldn't do it in there. And then, the job at email, it was originally with Email and Acid, came up and was recommended to me, and here we are.
I mean, what an incredible journey. And it's I love that thing about when you see something you've done for the first time just kind of hit it out of the park, and you just get addicted to what you could do, like the possibilities of what you could do, like this, like, you know, it's magical. Actually, I kind of had the same experience, like being in the Women of Email channel. I can't even remember how I got there, to be honest, but I was quiet for a while, and then I started talking a little bit more, and I just learned through, I guess, like white noise, I guess, like in terms of just like just looking at what people were writing and asking and answering. And I think, you know, one hint I would give to anybody who's new to email is take advantage of the incredible community that's out there, because it really is like one of the best professional communities I've ever come across, for sure, in my career.
100%.
Yeah, and you
Agreed.
have awesome people just like so willing to pitch in and help out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never met a community where everyone is just so like, yeah, ask me anything. Honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think back to like when I was a graphic designer and I was the only, I was always the only, and I had no professional network to talk to. And
Yeah.
I think it would have, like, I'm an okay designer. I think I would have been a better designer if I had a community to like talk to and converse with.
I think so.
And I definitely think I definitely have become a better just email marketer all around, because I think it's always good to be, I think everyone should, like, you can niche down in one area, but you should have a high level understanding of all the other areas as well, because it just makes you better at your job. So like being an email geek has just taught me so much. Now I know more about email deliverability and the analytics side and the strategy side and copywriting. And, I might not have all the expert knowledge at all of those, but I know enough to make high level recommendations, or if I'm coding something, to know how the code will affect things, how the design will affect things, and all that jazz.
Yeah, that's really important as well. That's such a great point, because I think as you progress along in your career, it's quite likely that you might take on a manager position. You might be managing other people. So it is quite good to know at least like a little bit of each element, so that you can manage people appropriately and get a sense of like, what good looks like as well in each of those elements. Wow. Okay. So my mind was blown by like all of the way that went into that. So you said work started on that email in October 2022. So it took basically like 6 months to come to fruition?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I probably started like official work on it in February. I purposely like started really early to give enough time, because you still have to do your regular job.
Yeah.
So just to, I didn't want to be rushing it towards the end.
Wow.
So
like all great things, does require planning, and I think like at time of filming, we're in August, so I'm sure like a lot of the Black Friday stuff is probably done if people are organized, and that's the nature of marketing and marketing ops and design as well. So yeah, loads of planning is so worth it. Yeah, so worth it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Megan. I'm going to share all of the links below, and I'd love to share like the LinkedIn profiles of the people who worked on this email as well below as well, so people can see how brilliant they are. For friends at home watching, absolutely join Megan on Notes from the Dev, and you're just so prolific as well. Like you appear on loads of places, so you always have something really great to share. So yeah, do look out for more stuff from Megan.
Oh, thank you.
So in the meantime, I'm going to say bye.
Bye.
Hello, friends. I've just finished editing this episode, and wow, it was a good one. I learned a lot from Meg, and thank you so much for being so generous and sharing what went on behind the scenes on this email. I'm sure email geeks out there have a lot to learn from you guys, and to the rest of the team at Email on Asset as well. I mean, brilliant job. I wanted to talk about a few more things that Meg is on as well, because I feel like everyone should check them out. So she's on Notes from the Dev, as she mentioned earlier in the episode, which is the podcast that she co-hosts. I also wanted to talk about her newsletter called It Depends. And yeah, she talks about all sorts of email coding and other geekery, I believe. And I also wanted to shout out about Email Camp, which is the conference that she organizes, or at least organizes with a team. I don't think she's doing it all herself, although I wouldn't be surprised because she's amazing. But Email Camp registration will be opening soon. So once again, I'll be putting all of the links and details below. in the meantime, if you are an email geek / email designer, or both, I'm sure a lot of you are both those things, and you wanted to share an email that you're proud of, or even a whole email campaign that you're proud of that you worked on, please give me a shout. I would love to dig into that with you and give the community some inspiration on how they can do the same things, or grab some ideas from your big old knowledgeable brain. Anyway, I don't know if you can tell, but this is like take number 23 of me doing this ending video, and I am spent. Anyway, other things to talk about. Oh yes, I also wanted to mention that Litmus Live is coming up very, very soon, and I will be speaking in a whole other country, in a whole other continent, in Boston. I'm normally in Salisbury. That's very exciting. The name of my talk will be called What's the Point of Marketers? It's a little bit spicy. Registrations, I believe, are still open. And if you've registered already, oh my god, please say hi. I would love to meet you. Okay, peace out. I think I'm going to just call it quits here before I get too delirious with taking too many takes. Bye!